It was one of those bone-chilling winter nights when the air seemed to cut through even the thickest coats. The streets were half empty, snow crunching under the weight of passing boots. Streetlights glowed pale yellow against the darkness, and at a lonely bus stop on the edge of town, a young man named Daniel stood waiting. His hands were shoved deep into his thin, worn-out hoodie, hardly enough to keep away the cold, but he had learned to live with discomfort. Daniel wasn't homeless, but he wasn't far from it either. At 27, life had been unkind. His mother had passed when he was 16. His father had drifted out of the picture long before that, and he had grown up bouncing between relatives who cared more about themselves than about him. He worked odd jobs, sometimes construction, sometimes night shifts at the grocery store, barely scraping by. His rent was overdue, his fridge empty. But he kept moving, kept trying, because he believed somehow, some way, life had to get better. That night, the bus was running late, and Daniel rocked back and forth on his heels to fight off the cold. That's when he noticed her. She was sitting at the far end of the bench, shivering violently. Her hair was damp from the snow, clinging to her cheeks, and her clothes, though stylish, were thin, clearly not meant for such weather. She hugged herself tightly, her teeth chattering audibly in the silent night. Daniel hesitated. She looked well-dressed, maybe someone who had simply forgotten her coat, or lost it. But something in her trembling posture made his heart twist. He knew what it was to be cold, to feel invisible, to hope someone might notice. Without thinking too much, he pulled off his jacket, the only one he owned, and walked over. "Hey," he said gently, holding it out, "you look freezing. Please, take this." Her eyes lifted to his. They were sharp, intelligent eyes, but tonight they were clouded with exhaustion. "No, I can't," she whispered, shaking her head. "You'll freeze." "I'll manage," Daniel said with a faint smile. "I'm used to it." There was something in his tone, something raw and honest, that left no room for argument. Slowly, with trembling hands, she accepted the jacket and wrapped it around herself. For the first time since he noticed her, her shoulders seemed to relax just a little. "Thank you," she murmured. "You don't even know me." Daniel chuckled softly, breath fogging in the icy air. "I don't need to know you to be human." They sat in silence for a while, waiting for the bus. Daniel noticed her glancing at him occasionally, as though studying him. But he thought nothing of it. When the bus finally arrived, Daniel gave her a small nod and boarded, without expecting anything more. She followed quietly, still clutching his jacket around her. What Daniel didn't know was that the woman he had just helped was not some ordinary stranger. Her name was Evelyn Hart. She was the CEO of one of the city's largest companies. A woman known in boardrooms for her sharp mind, her relentless drive, and her unshakable control. But tonight, she had been utterly broken. Just hours before, she had walked out of her office after a crushing betrayal. A trusted business partner had embezzled millions. Her company's future was at stake, and investors were circling like vultures. To make matters worse, she had just ended a long-term relationship that had left her emotionally drained. She had sat in her luxury car in the parking lot, staring at the steering wheel, unable to breathe under the weight of everything. Then, in a fog of despair, she had simply walked away, leaving her car behind, wandering until she ended up at that bus stop, too lost to even care about the snow soaking into her clothes. And then came Daniel, a stranger with nothing, who gave the little he had. That moment pierced through the darkness consuming her. Over the next few days, Evelyn couldn't shake him from her mind. His words, "I don't need to know you to be human," echoed in her ears. She thought about the simplicity of his kindness, how it contrasted with the ruthless, cutthroat world she lived in every day. She had built walls around herself for years, believing strength meant never showing weakness, never needing help. Yet, a man who owned almost nothing had reminded her what real humanity looked like. She wanted to find him. It took some time. But eventually, through the bus route and some inquiries at local shelters, she tracked him down. Daniel was surprised when he opened the door of his small, run-down apartment to find the same woman standing there, this time in a warm, elegant coat, her hair neatly tied back, but her eyes softer than he remembered. "You," Daniel said, stunned. "You found me." "I had to," Evelyn replied. She handed him his jacket, freshly washed and neatly folded. But then she hesitated, her voice trembling. "You gave me something that night I didn't even know I needed. You reminded me that kindness still exists. And I want to return it." Daniel looked confused. "You don't have to." "No," she interrupted gently. "I want to. Daniel, I run a company. And I see potential in people, even when they don't see it in themselves. I don't want to just thank you with words. I want to offer you a chance. That chance came in the form of a job, an entry-level position at her company, but with training, mentorship, and room to grow." At first, Daniel was hesitant. He wasn't used to good things lasting. But Evelyn's sincerity convinced him, and so he accepted. Months passed. Daniel proved himself to be hardworking, loyal, and surprisingly quick to learn. Evelyn watched as he climbed from task to task, earning the respect of his colleagues. He carried the same humility into the office that he had at that bus stop, always ready to help, never expecting anything in return. One day, as he sat in his small but bright office, Daniel found himself overwhelmed. He remembered the nights he had gone to bed hungry, the cold floors he had slept on, the endless feeling that life would never change. And yet here he was, because he had given away a jacket. Because kindness, no matter how small, has the power to ripple into something far greater than we can imagine. Evelyn often said to her board that the best decision she ever made wasn't a merger or an investment. It was choosing to believe in the man who had once believed in kindness above his own comfort. And Daniel. He never forgot where it started. Every winter, he would buy jackets in bulk and quietly leave them at bus stops across the city, hoping to warm strangers the way his life had been warmed. So if you ever feel like the world is too cold, too cruel, remember this sometimes. The smallest act of kindness can change not just a night, not just a season, but an entire lifetime. And if you believe in stories like these, real human stories of kindness and transformation, don't forget to subscribe, because the world could always use more reminders that compassion still matters.